Good morning, United Kingdom. Good morning, United Kingdom, and welcome to the Monday, 1st of February drive time session. So, the first drive time session of February in the year 21. So, it's the first of today and the first of this new year and the first of the February, and the first of February's drive times. So the topic for today is top 5 reasons why the market will, the property market apparently will crash in 21. So we're going to have a think through about property and the property crash, what that means to a lot of people. And the second saying of the week is, what's the second saying of the week? That's right. Go the extra mile because nobody else will. Okay. So we've got a guest on today, Miss Gupta, or stage now. Okay, great. We'll get her on in a few seconds. We will give obviously Lakhi Singh a few seconds more, put on his makeup, his lipstick, and be ready as well. Yeah, so 5 reasons that 21 is going to be a property market crash, and also how going the extra mile is something that you can only do because nobody else will. Okay, so the alternative business and property solution community is all about doing business in an alternative way and realizing that the market is about to change in a big way. And if anybody doesn't understand that, you just have to just look at what's happened in the market literally overnight. The whole financial and business market has gone into a nosedive, has collapsed, has closed down because of a virus. And you may not understand it now because a lot of people are caught up inside their own little world, dealing with the psychology of being locked down, dealing with having to work from home for those who are still working, but have been restricted to work from a home office, and those people who are possibly in furloughs because their company really can't sustain their wage, really because they're unsure whether their own business is going to go anywhere. So with all those factors, you've got an environment which is quite uncertain, but surely there's got to be some method in that madness. There's got to be a reason all this happened. Nothing happens without a reason. And I think a lot of the problems are revolving around people and their well-being and their health is uncertainty, and uncertainty is a big killer. Not knowing when, not knowing how, especially if you've lived a life depending upon the system that you regard as being, well oiled, I would say, or versatile, or large enough to cope with all types of adversity. The system we can call government, the government that collects taxes and has all that money in their coffers. You expect that system to be clear in the strategy. It's all right locking everything up, closing everything down. That understanding the implications of that, understanding that if I had somebody who was used to sitting in a particular corner of the room, even in a particular seat or something. If I all of a sudden announce I'm taking that seat away, I'm taking the seat and I'm throwing it out, or I'm going to use a seat in another part of the house. Something as simple as that's going to affect that person because he's used to sitting in a seat. Now, surely reasonability sense for me, before I take that decision to take that seat away from you, is that I should have involved you in that process, discussed it. However you look at the COVID virus, no amount of speed in dealing with the problem has had any effect in the overall position. Somehow we are dipping in and out of high rates, mortality rates, and larger admissions into the intensive care for people. Wouldn't it have been better to take a cold, hard look at everything properly and go down a route, consultation route possibly? Why is it people haven't been consulted? Why is it all one directional coming from top? The questions I think remain quite poignant in my head, come unanswered. But nevertheless, we will continue the topic with positivity. We're talking about the extra mile as well. Going the extra mile when others don't. But what is the extra mile in this matter? It's all right to talk about the extra mile in a generic way. It makes a lot of sense. Once you've got COVID, lockdown, remote working, businesses shut down, what can someone do in terms of getting the extra mile? What does that mean in this environment? In order to answer some of these questions, we are going to invite on now, we've been waiting backstage patiently, the lovely Miss Gupta, who will be invited in now. Could we please have waiting in the wings? Gupta.
Hello.
Good morning, Miss Gupta. How are you?
Good morning. I am great. How about you?
I'm good. I'm great. I'm great. Lovely to see you. Lovely to hear you. Tell me, which let's take the first. What was the weather like there, where you're at? I think you're in Newcastle. Yeah, is that right?
London.
London. Oh, right. Okay, got that wrong. London, and it is between Hounslow and Ealing. It's that little patch there, isn't it? What's it called? Let me get it. Let me get it. Let me get it. I should be able to get it. Um. Mm, uh, mm, I'm trying to remember it. It's Isleworth. That's right, Isleworth. Great. So yes, so the weather in London, is it nice and sunny? Is it cold?
No, it's
Crisp?
cold.
What is it?
It's 5 degrees. It's cold. It's cloudy. Typical of England weather. So yeah.
Okay. Excelente. Right. And okay, so tell me, I remember now the story that you had got your feet under the desk with property, working with your father-in-law's estate agency. That's right. That's the young lady, and you have sort of fulfilled a desire, a dream, and even it was slightly against the traditional family wishes, but you've been supported. You've got husband's quite supporting, a younger, a lovely little daughter, I think, as well, who you also wish for her to grow up with the same type of aspiration and confidence that you've got. So the topic, because you're in London, and And I think you do a lot in the service. Is it service department side or HMO side? One of the two. Which one is
HMO.
it? HMO. Right. So where do you see yourself giving the extra mile? What's this extra mile that everyone's talking about? So the question is, go the extra miles when others don't. What's the extra mile? How can you do the extra mile in a HMO? How does that work?
Oh, okay. So going the extra mile in HMO, very specific, but say, for example, you're running a student HMO and the universities are closed. And many people have actually just kind of put their HMOs on sale for that reason, saying, oh, the market's crashing and, we can't run businesses at this time. And going the extra mile for me, as an owner of a student HMO, I don't own any yet. But if I was the owner of a student HMO, I would have said, fine, student HMO doesn't work in this economy. What does? What can I convert my HMO into so I can still make money no matter what the economy is? Because something or the other is going to carry on changing, right? So I have had instances and I've been trying to secure some of those student HMOs so I can convert them into professional HMOs. So why is it a fixed mindset that if it's a student HMO, it has to remain a student HMO, and you can't
Correct.
convert?
That's a very good question.
You can't renovate it, make it up to the standards where professionals can live in it, and then you're still making money. It's just the
Excellent.
thought.
Okay. No, that's a solution, and I think if you look at it internally that actually makes sense because it's the extra mile. It's that little difference in the thinking, the understanding that things aren't rigid, that there is a flexibility there. Ultimately, HMO is a HMO, and in order for somebody to make a HMO successful, having the ability to um, somewhat alter the type of tenancies there is probably the clever solution, and it means you've gone the extra mile. What about going the extra mile externally? When you're talking about third parties and you're trying to give them something special, something that the others can't do, how do you define that extra mile?
Well, I can't say whether that extra mile is related to the COVID period and lockdown, but I think going the extra mile for me in my business and my HMO meant that giving my tenants more than they ever expected, like probably having a TV in every room, making it as comfortable, making the kitchen sections for them for their comfortability, and then being making sure that it's managed so well that even if I'm charging more than the market rent, they don't want to go away. And externally, just kind of making sure and being empathetic towards your tenants and feeling for them and providing for them just like you would to your extended family, etc. So just considering and bringing that empathy into your business, which I think I've always believed in doing business from the heart, and I think that's my extra
Okay.
mile. Not many people
That's
do
your
that.
extra mile. That makes sense. That makes excellent sense. Now, let's suppose you've got, I mean, how many HMOs do you actually have that you own or you manage yourself?
About 5.
Five. And I assume in each HMO you've got what, at least 4 to 6 people?
4 to 6 people, correct?
Right. So 4 to 6 people times five is around 30 different people. And are these HMOs in a close proximity or are they quite far apart from each other?
It's not in close proximity. One of them is, the 4 of them is up north. So I'm not in close proximity to the tenants, but I've got really good managing agents managing them.
Excellent. That's good. So out of the six, you're saying how many?
5.
How many? Five are close by or not close by?
Not out of the 5, 4 are not close by, 1 is.
Well, say that again because I didn't get that. I think you missed the words. Four.
4 are not close by, 1 is.
Mhm. One is right. Okay, so you got five in total. and one is nearby, four aren't. So you're saying the solution to that is an excellent managing agent, correct?
Absolutely. And not
Excellent.
just, and I would also like to add, what makes a managing agent excellence is the way you basically show your leadership in handling your managing agents and giving them the instructions. And you can't just go for and look for an excellent managing agent. People are good, people are bad, but how you want to manage your HMO is an instruction that you need to provide to the managing agent.
Excellent. That's the first time I've heard anybody be so directive in the way they manage. Because most people in property who aren't managing the property directly themselves, they totally rely upon the agent. All they want to know is that the rent has been paid in on time. And it's very few people that I know of who actually manage the manager. Most people like the manager to manage the property, and all they want is the rent paid on time. So it's a different style. I think that itself is possibly going the extra mile because you're expecting the property to do its own work and you're expecting the agent to make sure he understands the property. But really, there is an element of managing your manager, isn't there? How many
The,
managing agents have you got?
so I've got two of them, one. So two of them, and challenging journey because when you are trying to instruct your managing agent, because they've been doing it for so many years, if you tell them something out of the ordinary that they're not used to follow, it's difficult to kind of manage them and say, "Look, this is how I want it," because they might be very good at their job, but they still don't know how you want your business to be run, right? Which could be different to other people. So making that rapport with that managing agent, so they can receive your instructions in a nice way and implement is also another thing.
Excellent. How important then are the tools for a managing agent and how you see your properties? For example, do you use clever CRM of any kind? Do the agents give you access to your properties? You can see your properties at any time, or at least have a live report of any outstanding repairs or maintenance issues. And are you part of that process, or are you just told
I
how?
haven't started that process with the
Pardon?
agents. I have a CRM. It's very disturbing somehow. There's a lot of noise behind.
Hmm, pair of curtains behind me.
No, it's just when I'm talking, I think it's in the network. It's
There
bouncing
may
back.
be an echo. There may be a bit of an echo. I think maybe that's the problem. Otherwise,
No.
I think I'm perfectly clear.
Okay, cool.
Okay,
So
yeah.
what was the question again? I lost it.
Yeah. Okay, the question is, so you manage your agents, which is a good thing. So you manage the manager, which is really not everybody's cup of tea. Not everybody can do that because they just rely upon the agent to do the right thing. They think the property is going to do itself. Property itself will, do the comfort, provide the comfort to the tenant. But really, it is about a service, isn't it? It's not, like you said last time, it's a service. It's something that you have to encompass as, it's to be all encompassing, and it's more of a, it's it's a treatment of a tenant. If you don't listen to them and you don't respond to them, or you don't ensure that the room that they are letting out has the comfortabilities in them for them to want to enjoy that space,
Yeah.
uh, then
I mean,
it's a
isn't it similar? Why in a 5-star or a 7-star and pay like 10, 20 times the money you would have paid in like a 3-star hotel? What is the difference? Isn't the difference just in the service and how you're received by the staff? course, the property is a bit better looking too, and that's part of your service. You provide the property in a good condition to your tenants. But overall, it's about the experience, the whole experience of being in a property. Same is with
Excellent.
properties.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think there is a management attitude that reflects, and I think the general psychology of people who are in property, they're not interested in what they give to the tenant. The tenant has to create their own environment. They're just interested in the contract amount being paid every month. And I think that's where reputation is an important word. At the moment, estate agents and property landlords don't actually carry a very good reputation.
No.
As an overall sector, they probably occupy a very negative impression. So people probably think landlords are just, greedy old people who just want to collect as much as they can and pay out as little as possible. That's generally the impression about landladies or landlords. And I think that will change with time, because I think people like yourself who come in with the mind of, look, it's a bit more than that, it's an experience, will carry the element of reputation. And I think as we move on in the market, as the market changes, as even the legal contracts change. I'm not sure if you're aware of this. There is a government white paper that's probably in the midst of becoming policy and law, and that is that there will not be any assured short hold tenancies anymore. There'll be more lease tenancies, which is, I assume the tenants that you have in your properties are on a lease, are they?
They they are all on PSTs. I don't know about what you're talking about actually.
Okay, so people that you have in your properties, they are on ASTs.
PSTs, correct.
Okay. Well, what will happen is slowly the environment will go towards lease, and a lease is a slightly more commercial contract. The rights afforded to a tenant in an AST are greater, a bit more stronger. The balance is in favor of the tenant, not in favor of the landlord. Whereas in leases, it's slightly more of a commercial arrangement, which gives the right or control somewhat back to landlords, especially when you've got defaults and you have missed payments, arrears, or other things of the contract. So there's going to be a major shift from assured short hold tenancies towards leasing property, because there's not going to be that many people out there who are going to be able to afford purchasing a property. So you're going to get a large demand for rental. Now, the problems with ASTs are they're only designed for a year, most of them. And I think some of them have the clause, a renewal clause in them, but generally they have to be yearly and granted by way either implicitly or explicitly. Whereas a lease is more of a commercial, purely a commercial arrangement, and you can take a lease out for more than 3 years, 5 years even. So people who can't afford to purchase, who can't afford a mortgage, for these people, lease will probably become a bit more favorable. So going away from that, my point is that when you have people like yourself who are making that journey and experience, so it's not just let's say, not just a journey of tenant in and tenant out, check in, check out. It's an experience. Having lived in one of your accommodations, you'll carry a reputation. And if the market changes towards people looking for long-term residents, so how many of your residents are repeat residents who've been there for more than 2 years?
I would say half of them, and the rest of them kind of keep shuffling. But half of them, if I say on an average, have been repeated. And I think the ones that shuffle is also because their time in the place has been over and they want to leave. No, I haven't seen a tenant leaving because they weren't happy, basically.
Excellent. So the market is going to go down service apartments, which is really one step away from HMO. HMOs obviously afford the independence, but they also offer services based upon the individual who owns them, like yourself. You know, you want to give that extra mile. So, what do you give to your tenants, which is slightly more than a standard HMO would give?
The quality is very standard. So the bed care is being taken about the quality of the beds, the mattresses, making sure there's a little bit of a table space to work from, especially in this environment. I think I've added in the rooms where there is space, I've added tables for the tenants so they can work from home. Things like that, TV connections, wherever possible, I try and make kitchenettes in my room. But where not, I make sure that the kitchen is equally divided between the tenants and they have their own, and even going to the extent of providing locks on in the cupboards
Excellent.
like it's home, and you're not worried about keeping stuff and losing them. Wherever possible, little fridges in the room so they can feel like they can keep their stuff and it's going to be safe and it's in their room. Internet is really, really key. Tenants working from home these days, they can't deal with interrupted internet speed, so making sure internet's all good, even if that means adding another customer not very tech savvy, the partner deals with that, but he made sure that, even if he had to go and add the property for the link to be stable. I think all of that, and also when the tenant calls and say to the managing agent and says, "Oh, this is wrong," the instruction to the managing agent is that the tenant should be either you solve it ASAP, and if it's not in your control, then you need to get in touch with ASAP, and the tenant shouldn't be basically coming to you with the same problem twice. So it should be handled ASAP, as soon as possible. So making the rooms a bit
Excellent. Right. Okay.
That's
Right.
it.
Okay. And do you have a signature? Do you have a signature sort of refurb or look and brand in your HMOs? Bit like we have a young lady down in Brighton, a wonderful young girl by the name of Mary Cullen. That's right. And she does refurbs, or she sort of like designs brand or look, and she also talks about customer experience and looks at how a company can reflect its name or its image in the asset itself. Do you have that type of concept? Are all your HMOs branded with a particular color and a style and refurb and
We're having we are
etc.,
having
or are they quite?
because I renovate
Pardon?
all of them from scratch. When I take on a property, I will kind of rip it off to the bottom and do it all up. So I have an opportunity. We are discussing that as having like different colors as brand and just doing the HMOs in that brand. But up until now, the thought wasn't there of branding the HMOs. But all I can say is, according to the mood and the area and the type of people who are going to take it, they're done to a very good standard. But now and I'm actually debating having a brand because I was saying,
Well, we've got okay. Even if not,
yeah, sorry, I was just saying that I'm actually debating having or not having a brand look because
okay. So according to the area and the type of people.
exactly. So
Okay, so if you can't brand, there's something. I think you've got a problem with your internet.
I don't think so. I think the voice is echoing, and I don't know if it's at my end or your end.
We can very clearly. I mean, I can hear you now clearly. And can you hear us clearly?
Yes, I can now.
Excellent. Okay, tell me the brand because I think you went through it but couldn't hear you. So tell us
Oh,
now.
cool. I was saying
Mhm.
it's no echo now. I was saying that I'm debating having a brand because I personally feel that having when you have a brand and a brand in properties, that's all about you. These are the colors I like, so I'm gonna only use these colors in my property. Whereas the way my approach is developing a HMO based on the area you're in. Trust me, there are different areas that will demand different kind of look to the HMO. Some properties are different. That's traditional, Victorian, high ceiling. You can't put modern colors and branding into that, whereas some of the properties are modern and you can. So I feel because it's a service-based industry and by putting a brand into a property, yes, you might be able to put a name out there saying this brand belongs to Ritika, but are you doing a good service to the people in that area? Are you really looking at what the people in that area need as well? So at the moment, I'm debating. I'm not saying I'm completely against it, but that's the debate that we are having in putting a brand through or not at the moment.
Okay, that makes sense. I think you're looking externally, not just internally in the property. So that makes sense. Before we continue, we've got about three secret admirers of yours sending us love hearts. I hope they're all male. I'm not sure if there's any females in that. And shout out to we've got John, we've got Mandy, we have Zishan, we have Ali, and we have who else? And we have Mr. Nothing Else. So have all of those people. Good morning to everyone for listening to us. And love hearts, obviously, for you yourself. I don't deserve a love heart at the moment. Right, okay. So tell me now, the next part of today's topic 5 reasons that you can think of that the property market may crash because it's still out there, it's debatable. And you said yourself, lots of people in your area or people in the HMO business are trying to offload because they think the market's going to crash. Tell me, firstly, the question to you is, what do you feel about the market? Do you think it's sustainable? Or do you think there is a smell or air of crash about it?
Okay. So the way I would think about is that I my experience with the property market has been that the property market's very emotion based, and the biggest emotion that rules the industry is fear. So depends on how big the threat is in front of you, the property market will react accordingly. Now, when Brexit was announced, nothing changed. Nothing changed in the economy as of then, but a lot of like emotion was up and running, and people stopped selling. People, saying, "Oh, we have to wait now for the Brexit decision. Not sure what's going to happen. The property market's going to crash." And the other people come with and news come with their opinions about how the demand's going to go down as the Europeans go out of the country, and hence why the property prices are going to come down. But we're nearly there. We're nearly there with Brexit. But what's happened? Nothing. Now we are dealing with coronavirus, which is a bigger fear than the Brexit fear. Right? It's a worldwide, international fear. So I will say property market is going to behave based on how big the fear is in front of you, right? And it's purely emotional. Nothing drives the prices apart from an emotion of fear. People start holding properties from sale because of the fear of, because of the expectation of property prices are going to go up later, so I might as well hold. People start buying, thinking, property prices are low, they might go up later on. And again, everything is going to be determined by the furlough scheme, by the stamp duty extension. So I personally can't say, and nobody can, to be honest, what's going to happen with the property market is about how people are going to react. To be honest, what media is going to bring in and how the media is going to cause that fear in the market and how people are going to receive that fear is what's going to drive the property market.
Okay, so do you think the media is operating on some governmental policy of some kind? Or do you think the media just does it randomly?
Well, I have been a journalist. I personally don't want to make media, so I know that most of the things, and a very story that I like to share is that when I was doing my graduation in journalism, we had these idealistic ideas of journalism, like we stand for the right thing and we do what's right. And there was a newspaper in India called the Times of India, and that newspaper was very notorious for acting on putting news out based on what's been paid for, right? And like paid journalism kind of thing. So we were very idealistic, saying we're going to join Times of India because it's not fair and all of that. So keep talking about media, I want to say here, not all media is like that, but yes, media is influenced by political pressures, and obviously it's the industry, it's the business in itself, so it's going to do whatever it makes it money.
Okay, that's it. That's a bit of a generic type of an answer. It's not specific, but I understand what you're saying. So media, let's suppose media is going to drive the mood of the nation. But surely don't the markets behave on confidence? The word confidence is a human word, not a business word, and not a clinical device. It's a human word, confidence, and consumer confidence is probably one of the most important factors that drive the economy and drive investment. So, is it not about people then and emotions? Are you saying the economy runs on its own, on digits and numbers?
No, that's not what I said. I think the first thing I said is that the whole economy and property industry in itself is very emotion based. Confidence, whether you call it fear, right? And I want to just go a step behind and say, where does the confidence or the fear actually come from? If you go a step behind and you say, yes, the industry is run by the consumer confidence or fear, but where is it all coming from? Where is our mind getting the idea of fear or confidence? Is it through a chit chat with your friend? And even if it's a chit chat with your friend, where is your friend getting the ideas from? So that's what I'm saying. Media plays a big role in deciding consumer confidence or fear, or setting in fear about something.
Okay, but surely, as it stands, people have just literally overnight locked down businesses, uh, thrown thousands, if not millions, of employees into a state of flux, expecting government grants, furloughs, BBLs and all that to support the employment market. And yet the employment market depends upon these businesses remaining operational, because if you don't have consumerism, the element of consumer consumption of goods being produced, being manufactured, being developed for the public, then that money is literally purely created fiat. And the fiat that they create in governmental policy, which is called in the United Kingdom called fractional quantitative easing. That fractional lending is a US term. So quantitative easing, surely isn't that what drives the confidence of consumers? If you don't know whether the government's policies are clear. I mean, if the government had announced, we are going to continue the furlough scheme for 18 months, then you can have confidence, because people know it's just like anything, any house, any business, it can plan then. But if the plan of the government is so unthought out so short-lived that every 3 months we're having to debate whether a scheme is going to continue or close down. Isn't that the problem? Is it really media, or is it the way the government's behaving in this matter?
Well, it's both. But what I would like to see is that the situation we are in, is this just astounding and surprising for us, or is it just is it the same for the government as well? Because the government had to just make measures and put out measures in an instant to make sure that they're taking the right decision. So we can't expect that the government should know everything when none of us knew what was going to happen. So yes, of course, as I said, the property market's going to be determined by the furlough scheme, whether that's extended or not, whether the stamp duty holiday is extended or not, how long. Like we can't really see into the government reserves. I mean, on this level, of course, economists are going to do that. But how long can the government sustain that? To be able to do that for people.
Well,
Or will
this reserve that you're
will
talking
people
about,
have to get up and try to do something else? Like what I feel the problem is that we rely too much on the government helping. That is why, coming to the first topic, going the extra mile isn't an option, because you can sit there and the government's going to help you. So if you're talking about going the extra mile, then you have to think, well, my shop is closed right now. What else can I do? Can I go and join the NHS and help them there somehow? Can I join stores and make some money? So because the government's helping, we can't completely rely on the government help. And that's the emotion that I feel, is that you need to go the extra mile to make sure that you're working and not relying on the government help.
okay, let's suppose you take that statement. If government is the one that's locking all the businesses down, so let's take this. You have a farmer produces milk who needs a manufacturer to take the milk and supply milk. That milk is being sold to the general public. So the public buys the milk at a price. Okay, so that's milk. So I'm giving you one line there of consumerism. So farmer, the producer, the seller. Now, in order to purchase that, you need money. Now, if everything that revolves in the economy that allows somebody to make that money to purchase that milk has been shut down by government policy. Remember, it wasn't a commercial choice. It wasn't a company or a corporate that said, right, no, we won't do business anymore. It's government policy. The government decided to take a choice and say, right, the entire economy is locked down. Why? Because your health and safety. So for the fear of the health and safety of individuals, it has taken a policy that all businesses. Now, if we go across the sectors and say, well, you've got the entertainment and tourism, you've got service-led, so it's all the the financial houses that are in London and the UK generally, called service centres. All of these varying businesses have been reduced to their capacity because of government policy. So it's not a policy that's only affecting a certain sector, like for restaurants. Let's say they said because restaurants, they have a high volume of public, influx. So therefore, we're saying restaurants should close down, bars should close down, entertainment halls should close down, because they are just affording the mixing of people from different places, and therefore we have all those closed down, and anybody in that industry then still can look for alternative employment, taking their their experiences and using them into another sector. The problem is every sector has been closed down or minimized. So in that matter, how much can you look at retraining yourself and moving sideways, as it would be, to look for alternative employment? It doesn't become very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, not believe that every sector has been closed down, because there are sectors, key workers, for example. There is the whole economy of key workers, whether that's financial industry, whether that's NHS, whether that's Tesco providing the basics to the public. I don't think that has ever. In fact, if you look at the trend, there are some industries that have made the most money during the period of lockdown than ever before, right? Yes, I agree. Tourism, travel, and shopping and the luxury businesses are the most affected businesses because they are not needed and necessary right now. And I can only give you one example, and I just want people to open their minds and think that if you are a business owner, if you run one business, then yes, that business can close down. But what cannot close down is your skills as a business owner. And they're always transferable to another thing. And I'll give you one example of a friend who ran a travel industry business. He ran a travel agency. And now everything closed down. Now, how is he going to support? He's the only breadwinner in the family. How was he supposed to support his family when the entire business shut down? So he decided to figure out and make some connections and supply PPE equipment made connections with the suppliers, made connections with the NHS and all of that. And he was making a lot of money. And it took him like about a month to take his skills from one business to another. And where there is a will, there is a way. And I'm not saying, and I'm completely empathetic to people where, they were in jobs and the jobs weren't transferable, right? And I completely understand. But if you're a business owner and you have business skills, that are definitely transferable. It's all about you pulling yourself together and saying, look, I have to do this. I can't rely. Whatever comes from government is a bonus. But what can I do to make my living work right now? And no, by no means am I saying that everybody is in the same boat. There are people who are really, really genuinely stuck, and the government is looking after them. But I think in the whole umbrella, people who can do something about themselves are also not doing anything about themselves, not going the extra mile because there's no government to look after them. That's what I wanted to say.
Okay, that makes sense. I think that's probably putting a clear distinction. I think what we are saying is business owners, people who are already used to being very energetic, very optimistic, very versatile. And I think there is a difference between a business owner and a person who's in a 9 to 5. But you also offer an answer there for somebody who's a 9 to 5, because there's surely transferable skills that could be taken to another industry sector. At the same time, it's an excellent opportunity for people who've always thought of becoming self-employed, who
Absolutely.
now have time on their hands to look at becoming self-employed. And I think this is why Lakhi Singh has a offering on the Rescue My Properties, I think, label, which is a RAC, a Rescue Associates membership that actually offers a zero cost membership associate program that allows people to help people and make money. And it's quite unique. It's different. And I think as the economy tightens, people will start latching onto that quickly, because the property solutions they offer there, of financial solutions, of the legal solutions they offer. A lot of people, are going to be caught up in one or the other with the way the economy is going. So tell me, Ritika, what do you say about the interest rates and how that will affect the economy?
Well, personally think again, interest rates will depend on the government's position of what government, how government balances the economy. Yes, if interest rates go higher, again, it's going to affect, as interest rates going higher effect is going to increase, the lending capacity of the people, and hence not many people will be able to borrow money. They'll be renting more, right? So the property buying demand will go down, but the rentals will go up. Whereas if the government puts the interest rates low, then people's buying capacity will increase, and hence the demand will increase, and the property prices will probably go up. And hence why the government has to be very careful. And I think the government is. I don't see many fluctuations yet in the interest rate. They're pretty much as is today. But depending on how long the government needs to carry on the stamp duty relief, how long the government needs to carry on giving the furlough scheme, and then how long and how much does the government now need money to be balanced by increasing the interest rate, so the government can make some money to give some money, right? And I think all will depend, as you know, we've seen in the property market before, the fluctuation in the interest rate will make similar differences. But I guess people and government both are a bit more prepared because they've learned lessons from the previous property crash. And
Okay,
hence,
so what I've still not understood. What's your understanding on that then? So when the interest rates go up, you're talking about at the moment where I think the UK is operating at 0.25. Is that right?
yeah, I'm not.
Okay. Well, what will happen when it goes up then? How are property landlords and ladies going to afford their operations?
As I
If
said,
the
when the
rental income, yeah, how are you going to balance out the rental income against the uplift of your interest payments?
okay, is it am I a landlord right now? Is my question, or am I a tenant? Am I a buyer? I
No,
haven't got.
you're a property landlady. You have a service on the debt on the properties, unless all your properties are unencumbered, then you don't have any encumbrances, you don't have any lending on them, so you're then cash rich, and then you don't have to worry. But in cases of the average person who's got some form of lending on their property portfolio, how do you see the interest rates and how that will pan out? How is that going to help
Well, if the
people in?
interest rate goes higher, if the interest rate goes higher for a landlord, that's probably, and if you're a small landlord, definitely it's going to have a massive impact on your cash flow, because already with Section 24 coming in, where you can't offset your your mortgage interest onto your from your rent, I think that will cause a massive damage to the existing small landlords. But if you've got your property into your company, then probably it's probably not going to affect you so much. It will still, but it's not going to have that massive. So I think it's time for people to really look into their portfolios and see if they are privately owning the properties or they're holding them in the companies. And if the interest rate goes up, I think that will be the bone breaking for a landlord, a small landlord especially.
Small land. So what you're saying is small landlord will be affected by interest, but the large will not be affected by interest rate hikes. Is that what you're saying?
I am not saying the large will not be affected, but I'm going to be saying the larger will probably, I am assuming a larger landlord will have other streams of income apart from just rental income. And so therefore, I think he will still be able to sustain. But if a landlord who's got 3 or 4 properties in his name and that's his only source of income, him will definitely be more affected than a larger landlord who can probably use other strategies and go away and make money somewhere else.
Excellent. Okay. So that's a bit of advice there. I think we're in the last few minutes of today. 8 minutes left. Okay, so we still got 8 minutes. That's good. Right. Okay, I'm going to ask you then. Overall, in the property spheres at the moment, you obviously, I would assume you're a HMO.
I've lost you.
Up more properties and convert them into HMOs, or are you looking to consolidate? Which way the economy fluxes? What is your strategy at the moment?
Sorry, I lost you there, but I'm assuming that what you're asking me is that are you only gonna do HMOs or are you gonna look at other strategies as well?
Yeah,
Is that
what's your strategy for 21? What are you looking to do? Are you going to be acquiring? Is it an acquisition? Is it a offloading? So is it liquidation, or is it more consolidation and keeping it, efficient?
my strategy, whether that's affected by COVID or not, is to be completely keeping your eyes open and be aware what the market is about, and then changing your strategy accordingly. Currently, I am also looking at flip opportunities because pubs are coming on sale. There are so many shops that are closing, and the whole units, hotels are coming out for sale. So it's a brilliant opportunity for who can afford to pick up commercial properties that are not running and are in desperate need of sale, to pick them up and revive them and put them into flats where people can live and convert them into residential. So at the moment, I'm also looking for FRIP opportunities, and I am probably going to pursue soon one of them. So I think keeping your eyes open is one of the key lessons that I learned. I think when I started my journey and the Brexit was announced and I was doing flips at that time, had I known the HMO thing and all of that at that time, I would be very quickly. So I would say, if you cannot do anything, learn about the new strategies right now. Use this time that you're at home, not doing any work. Stop worrying about what's going to happen. What you have in control is you. So learn, upgrade your skills. So when the economy, whatever happens in the economy, say for example, options, I'm learning. I have never dealt in options, but I'm learning about options now. And I'm thinking,
do you think options are viable though, Ritika? Do you think an option is viable?
I haven't done any, so I'm not going to come in from the experience point of view, but from what I've
Okay,
learned.
you're learning about them. So the question is, options normally, as we see them, are excellent tools in a rising market. So when the market curve is upwards, so the property values are at their lowest, and there's only one way, and that's upwards. Option deals are excellent because they're a good way of acquiring something at a reasonable price, and then giving the seller the benefit of the rise, but keeping the profit margins in your favor. In a downward market, so at the moment the market's peaked, taking an option out to the benefit of the seller hardly makes sense, because whatever you agree with as a future or the option price, if it's not going to be sufficient to redeem their debts and also give you a profit, becomes quite difficult unless you go into pure found development. So you acquire something for a development potential. So you're basically looking at GDV as a way to add value.
Correct.
But
Okay.
I'm sure you'll learn that in your course,
I
and
think,
you'll come with some more knowledge.
yes, and what I'm going to say, we can touch upon options as a topic for next time to me, because it's a
Yes.
huge thing, and the myth that it only works in an upward economy and not in a downward economy is a bit of a myth, and I've understood the reason behind it. And the reason is that in any economy, individual people can have different circumstances. They can have pressuring circumstances where they are still willing to sell their property at a below market value to you. It's about reaching out to those people and really finding them. But as I said, I haven't done it yet, but I understand the logic behind it. And I know that if you're willing to find these people and you know what you're doing, you know how to make sure that the option's working today and the option's going to work 5 years later. When you know all of those, you can't go wrong. So we could probably definitely, and by next week,
Excellent.
we will probably have.
We will have you on. I am. What? We will have probably what?
I would probably have done one as well, because I like to.
Yes. Okay. Yes. If we've done one, we can do one with you as well, and you can take us through the process of doing one. So, I've had the pleasure of you all to myself today, which is good. I've not had to share you with anybody. That's nice to know. We've got lots of love hearts that come to you, and obviously not to me. We have Rajesh, I think Rajesh Malhotra, who's given a message. I think he was talking about the reserve normally is not linked with gold. I think that's a comment he made. He's right, but quantitative easing is not linked to anything. It's just a way of printing illegal money by giving it a fancy title. And this pleasure is only with a handful of countries, those countries that control the world economy, basically. So, in order to close off today, we've learned lots of stuff. I mean, lots of positivity coming out of Ritika there. I think you're a true example of why ladies, like Rajesh says, he said there should be more ladies, business ladies, because you just are better to look at, but you're even better in your work ethics. So, last word to you, Ridhika, before we part today. Tell me something that everyone should be thinking about in the last 30 seconds.
Well, you should be thinking how to make things work and not think about why did this happen to me.
Excellent. How these things work and
How
not why it's
how
happened to
to
you.
make things work? What can I do next to make things work rather than, oh, why did this happen to me? Why did economy crash? Why did coronavirus hit the property market?
Excellent. Lovely, positive, and with a smile always. Ridhika, it's a pleasure having you. Had you all to myself. I'm going to be smiling all week now. So I will see you. We'll try and get you on again. I think we'll talk. How far is your option course going? Whereabouts are you? In the middle, at the beginning? Where?
Yeah, it's too. So
How would you say?
I said I'm in a 6 week course and I'm in week 2 at the moment, so quite early.
Okay. Okay, they'll probably give you some examples, option deal, case studies as well. So we'll invite you back when you have more knowledge on it, and we'll discuss whether it works, whether it actually is a solution, or whether it is more of a myth because it don't really work in a downward market. Take care, Malak. Take care, everyone. Take care, Ridhika. Lovely having you. Thank you so much. We will call you again as soon as you're available.
Yes.
Heart to you too.